Thank you, Z. I think just to kind of wrap up what Z was saying, I think if you want to think of it in these terms, it's not where we have been, but more importantly, where we are going. So the past we can't control at all, but the future we can. Right? So just an aside, my youngest daughter, she ran the rock and roll half marathon a week ago in Chicago. And she won it, actually by taking a bathroom break too, so that was kind of fantastic. Yeah. And then she ran the following weekend, she ran the Big 7 Mile, which is basically a 7-mile uphill run in Des Moines, Davenport, Moline, out in the Quad City area, and that for it. And then yesterday we got the call that she had to go and see an orthoped and get an MRI because she's now torn her Achilles. So she's going to be in a boot. Her brother looked at the MRI and said she's going to be in a boot for the next 4 to 6 weeks now for it. So when we were talking about, obviously she was very devastated and that about what she had big plans for this fall to be able to run, to hopefully be able to qualify. It would have been really exciting if she could qualify and our other daughter could qualify for the Olympic trials. That would have been pretty cool for it. So, but what I said to her, I said we can't do anything about the past. What we have to look at now is how we fix the future, right? So we have to listen to the doctor, figure out where we're at, and then be able to decide what we need to do. If surgery is necessary, then we'll do what's necessary for it. But it's kind of what we were talking about today, right? Analyzing what we've done in the past isn't necessarily going to get us to where we are in the future. And when things change, it's how do we accept those changes, right? Life has continued to evolve. The person you are today is not the same person you were probably 20 or 30 years ago, right? Either through financial situations, family, children, grandchildren, new jobs, all of those things that have transpired. And now as you start to move into another phase, it's what are you going to do in that phase, right? So I know a lot of you have talked about, maybe relocating in that port. Wanting to be in your family or water or other places where it's warm and that for it, or in a low tax state, right, where things are not quite maybe as expensive as they are here. Those are all important factors, but it all comes back to what's our purpose, what are we looking for going forward to. Well, one of the things that we're all going to need, especially as we start to go for those areas, basically is going to be sustainable income, right, to make sure that we've got income coming in to be able to cover all of those particular expenses in that for it. So, I mean, this, effective July 1st, there was an increase in Illinois in the gas tax area for it. This was from June 24th. Double gas tax is just the start. And it basically compared the old gas taxes with the new gas taxes in that for it. So prior to June 24th, it was roughly 67.5 cents a gallon. Effective July 1st, it's roughly 91 cents unless you're in Cook County. Because in Cook County, all the municipalities in Cook County can add an additional 3 cents to the gallon, to the taxes. So if you think about it, almost $1 per gallon right now is going toward just taxes. Right? And everything's gotten a lot better with the old taxes that they had, right? So the new taxes, I'm sure, are just going to make it even better for it, right? Yes.
I want to comment on a comment that you made. Actually, you already alluded to it. You talked about why people are moving out of Chicago and Illinois. At the main meeting, was it the main meeting you were talking about?
Well, yeah, the population in Illinois continues to go down with more people leaving the state.
Well, I guess a couple of weeks ago I received my property tax bill, and that sucker was about 3 times what it was this time last year.
3 times?
Oh, wow.
And coupled with the gasoline tax and all of the other fees in terms of transferring titles from one car to another car. I mean, Madigan and his crew down in Springfield really did a job this past spring, with Krista going along with it. So you were right on target when you discussed why people are leaving Chicago and Illinois, because the taxes and fees have gotten, in my opinion, just outrageous.
Well, the taxes and the fees in Illinois are continuing to escalate in that for it. I can tell you the state's going to be short 2 more population. My brother and sister are both sold their houses and they're leaving for it. My sister was fortunate enough to sell her house in about a day. My brother was not fortunate enough, and he sold. It took him like 5 months to sell his house for it, right? The challenge also becomes, especially if you own property in Illinois, is that it's law of supply and demand for property. Right? If people aren't moving in to buy homes for it, then the concern becomes not that the house will be worth less, that it'll actually be worthless, right? I mean, because if nobody's willing to buy it, then prices fall to an equilibrium, right? I mean, there's law of supply and demand. Speaking as he's talking about Nashville, we were down visiting our youngest son, moved to Nashville about a month ago in that for it, and one of the things we're talking about down there is that housing prices have just gone through the roof because of demand. I mean, especially in the downtown area down there, housing prices have really escalated, right? If you look, I mean, I got my assessment notice from the county the other day, and it said my property value went down on their estimate another $4,000, and that's on top of another like $5,000 from the year before, and I haven't kept track on where it was before that, right? So if values continue to go down and property taxes continue to go up, I mean, it seems like there's a disproportion therefore, right? So all of the plans and all the talks, it's always interesting because listening to when they did the last tax increase in that for it, they talked about also wanting to create tax incentives for businesses to move in. And I thought it was kind of ironic that they wanted to create tax incentives to move in. They're trying to get the business here to move out, I guess, right? So I mean, it's just kind of I don't understand the logic for it, but that's just me. You know, and also coupled in Illinois has to do with the pension problem, which was not addressed in the last budget or anything there for it. So back on July 7th, 10 years of retirement, $1.2 million in pension income on average. That's for judges, but all pensioners are outpacing Social Security recipients in that for it. So the state of Illinois, the average pension for a judge, does anybody have an idea what a judge's average pension is in Illinois? No, not that much. $146,000. But do you know what they get every year? A compounded 3% cost of living increase. Right? The TRS, Teachers Retirement System, roughly $58,000. The lowest one on here, which I found kind of interesting, was the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, was only roughly $17,000. So but all of those pensions by state constitution get a 3% cost of living increase for it. And if you think about when these judges might be retiring, so if they might retire, let's say, late 50s, early 60s or so forth, what does he say? There's probably 30 years in retirement, right? So you take that 146 and compound that by 3% every year over 30 years. Where's the money going to come from to pay for that? I mean, it's a expensive proposition to have to look at it for it. We're talking about yes.
Do we want a casino in Chicago? Would that
Do
help?
we want a casino in Chicago?
Would that help?
Will it help? I guess. How do I want to answer this question? So the question becomes really not the casino portion for it. The question becomes, if we want to think in terms of value, all we're doing is trying to create and tax all the sins that are out there, right? So you've got you're going to tax drugs, we're going to tax casino taxes. I don't know why they stopped there and didn't go to prostitution for it too. I mean, why not cover all the bases at that point for it? I mean, you're going to cover, you have no moral high ground to come back from at that point, right? You've already gone down the rabbit hole. You can't say on moral high ground that we're not going to do it. So the casino could potentially generate it, but is the vice going to cause more problems? All right. I looked at the proposal that the mayor has, and if you look at the areas where she wants to put it, the question becomes who's going to go there.
Right.
I mean, if the people that have money that you want to be in the casino, so to speak, aren't necessarily gonna go to the places that they were looking to go. I mean, I'm not trying to push for a casino, but to me, if you're gonna have one, it makes more sense to be downtown, near McCormick Place, somewhere, if you're gonna have conventions coming in, that people have downtime, that maybe they go over to it. I don't see a lot of people getting in a cab or Uber and driving 40 minutes to try and get somewhere, and then trying to get back and all that. I mean, it just doesn't seem, to me anyway. I'm not a big casino person, so if they have it or not, it's not gonna affect my life for that for it. Will it generate revenue? It will, but does anybody know what they budgeted with the new, when marijuana becomes legal in Illinois? Do you know what the budget was before that for like health and services of that nature, like drug addiction? It was about $800,000. You know what they kind of slid it under the radar. You know what the budget is for the new budget for it? About 6.7 million. So is the juice worth the squeeze? Right. If you're saying that you're already budgeting roughly $7 million to cover a potential drug addiction problem, right? Then is the money that you're going to generate from it really going to be worth what you're getting, or are you just creating a bigger problem?
So you're talking about gambling addiction?
Could be. I mean, that was for the drug, but then what are they going to do for gambling, right? I don't know if you know this, but if they see the ads, or if you hear them, go to the casinos now for it. Illinois has a law, I believe, which says that if you are an addict in there for it, that if you gamble, you don't have to pay as long as you're on the addict. I don't know how it all works out. You get your money back or something. It's really weird. It's a law now. If you're a gambling addict and you go to the casinos and that for it, and they know you're a gambling addict, then you just don't have to pay, I guess. You have to play and not pay. Yeah, so there's all different things that are out there for it. So whether to have one or not really becomes, I guess, from a financial standpoint, and also from economic and moral. Is that what you want? Once you go down that hole again, you can't climb back out and claim the moral ground and say, well, we're going to now do this, right? To have it, if you have it, it's going to be where you're going to have it, and who's then going to frequent it, right? Is it going to be people who go there for a weekend or something, or are there people that are going every day?
It's usually the people who can ill afford to lose.
Right. It's usually the people that don't have the money to lose are the people that tend to frequent it the most, right? And that's why I found it interesting where they were looking to put the proposal for the new ones in there for it. Again, it didn't seem like it made sense because it wasn't near any place that if you were in Chicago and you said, oh, I want to go gamble, that you're going to drive and go to those particular locations for, right? One of the last things, how many people in here either worked for a company that had life insurance as part of their program or has life insurance as a potential benefit when you retire? Okay. So, depends on the contract. So, this was in the paper, actually this was yesterday, July 31st. So Sears retiree life insurance payouts may be $135 each. So in Sears, when Sears in its heyday, they had a program that basically provided for retirees a life insurance policy, and I think it was anywhere from $5,000 to $14,000 was roughly the range that they provided for that for it. Now that Sears has gone through the bankruptcy and everything, they're wanting to make the Sears retirees an unsecured claim, basically of $5,000. They have an unsecured claim of $5,000 life insurance policy, but it's unsecured, which means that if Sears doesn't recover that for it, that these people would not get money for it. So on average, they did the percentages here. It says, given the estate's limited resources, holders of an unsecured claim will receive estimated payouts of 2.3 to 2.7%, according to the filing, or about $115 to $135. So the only reason I bring that up is if you do have a company-sponsored plan, whatever it is, either life insurance or something, when you potentially retire, we may want to take a look at that to see if that is long-term the best viable option, especially as you're going into retirement, right? Because if a company runs into financial issues for it, benefits could start to get cut. And life insurance could be one of those where it doesn't seem like a lot at that point, where you take, I don't know how many people are retired this year, but it says it here for it, the quantity for it, you take that times the number of people, all of a sudden it becomes real dollars. And the only way that it's not really a problem, I guess, is if they've given that over to an insurance company, MetLife, Prudential, John Hancock, Jackson, someone like that, where they would pick up that benefit for it. Otherwise, you have a potential issue where if a company runs into issues, and therefore all of a sudden benefits start to get cut, and when benefits start to get cut, potentially you could be in a situation where you're not in the best of situations. Right. So it's a matter of looking at their whole package when you're getting ready to retire, or even if you are retired, to see if your company in the current situation is going to be sufficient with which to continue to make those payments. Right. And so you're starting to look again at your whole picture and how does that come to fruition. And one of the keys I'll just end up on is I recently had a client pass away in that for it, and we're going through some beneficiary issues with regard to things not necessarily being set up the way that she wanted them to. So I know we talk about this quite a bit, but reviewing your beneficiaries or having them updated and corrected. So if there are information, like I was speaking with a client yesterday, her brother passed away, he's primary beneficiary on her accounts and therefore we were talking and I said, okay, I've got the accounts that we have, we're going to update those when you come in. And she also has life insurance. I said, you need to also update your life insurance. She's like, oh, I forgot about that. So, and she doesn't have any contingent beneficiaries listed on that. So if he's gone, something happens to her, now it becomes an estate issue, a potential probate item. Right? So it's good to review those. Not that you have to review them every day or that for it, especially if you have life changes, if something should happen to someone, or somebody's not being respectful or that for it. You want to make sure that you've got those updated, because if you don't, you could have bigger issues. Potentially, you wouldn't have any issues, right? And you're not going to have any issues for it. But assuming that you don't want there to be any other issues there for it, it's good to make sure you've got those updated. And if you do not have contingent beneficiaries listed on your accounts for that for it, I strongly suggest that you put contingents on there for it. Especially in this particular case, like her brother passed away, the accounts that I have, we have contingents on there, so if something, God forbid, something were to happen to her, then we have a way that those assets are going to go without a problem for that for it. But if you don't have contingents listed there, God forbid something happens to both of you, then you potentially have probate issues, you have cost issues, you have attorneys getting involved, people could be arguing over money, there's all kinds of things that could potentially happen with it. So it's just a very simple, update it, you can put contingents on there if you have a trust. Sometimes it's making your primary be your spouse of that for it, and then having your contingent be your trust. All right, and then everything can flow through the trust and make sure that it goes to where it's supposed to go in that form. Okay. Any questions? Yes.
I don't totally understand this, but I was at a meeting not too long ago, and this lady said she worked 3 jobs, like for the city, the county, and another municipal. And she gets pensions from all 3, and they were saying that's not right because the same pension, I don't understand it totally, but how can you really get 3 pensions like that? Or what is the ups and downs of it?
Well, that's the state of Illinois and Cook County, how it's structured and that for it. I mean, you hear about it all the time where somebody leaves, works at some, in the city or the county somewhere, right, for 20 or 30 years, and then they leave that job and they go to another job for a week, and then all of a sudden they walk away with another pension from that one. I'm not sure how that all comes together. There's rules within the pension. That's one of the problems within the pension area for it, is that there are loopholes to be able to get around it. Is it right? If it's written and they haven't made the changes and everybody knows about it, right? It's why haven't they done it?
Right.
I mean,
because
right?
they broke, so they
Well, but they don't care, right? It's like the politicians that are in office right now.
Yeah, like Burke.
Right? I mean, think about Michael Madigan.
Yeah.
One of the last things that they tried to do in Springfield was to get property tax reform. Right? Well, the property tax reform never got addressed. and you know why it never gets addressed, right? Is because Michael Madigan has a law firm. And what does Michael Madigan's law firm specialize in? Property tax assessments in that board and getting those reduced, and they get paid to do things of that nature, right? So why would I write a law that would take money out of my pocket when I can make more money not doing it, right? So are they really looking after your interests or after their own, right? So I mean, it's the old question. I mean, is it, you know, and so in Illinois, that's just kind of, everybody just kind of shakes their head and goes, who cares, so to speak, or they get mad about it, but nobody really does anything about it. And the way that people are doing something about it is that they're leaving the state, right? So, you know, it's amazing to see like a state, again, just picking on Tennessee, Nashville, it was booming down there. We were down there with building everywhere, it was going crazy. And as far as construction and people moving there and that for it was unbelievable. Low taxes, they've eliminated all their tax, state income taxes. I think next year or year after, the tax on dividends goes away. It's a good corporate environment. So if you've got a company, you've got a state with lower taxes people are moving to, and a state with higher taxes that are moving out of, you would think that they would get kind of the idea that maybe they should change things for it, you know? I think it was Margaret Thatcher that says you can't tax your way into prosperity. You know? So. So it's proven all those, they eventually all fail, right? Eventually what's going to happen, the sad part, what's going to happen most likely in Illinois and in Chicago is that you're going to see a big divergence. Because the people who don't have any money can't leave, and the people who have a lot of money, they don't care. It's all the people in the middle that say we've had it and all decide to leave. And at some point in time, it might be who's ever left, just the last one out, just turn off the lights. Right? I mean, that's going to be it. Any other questions? So, well, thank you very much for coming. We look forward to seeing you next month.